It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're growing green with envy for that She-Hulk trailer.
No,
I had nothing else. I had nothing else with this. It's not easy being green.
You're gonna. I just love in the trailer how they said you're gonna love her when she's angry.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, don't say that to the internet.
Yeah, you don't.
They're gonna take that too far.
The internet doesn't love anything, especially when the lead character is a woman. That's what I'm seeing. But that's okay. We just talked about this right before the show, but The Boys and Umbrella Academy and more fight for June supremacy in the streaming wars. We're back with that. Grab your lightsabers. Maybe they're green for Obi-Wan this week, coming out on Friday. And some more other Star Wars news we'll talk about. Probably not this week, but next week because of something going on next week.
God. Chris, I totally forgot. We're at like the end of May. Holy crap, yeah. Obi-Wan is here.
Yes.
I was not mentally prepared for this. We're talking about other streaming stuff too in the show. And yeah, it's heating up. It's funny. Summer used to be for movies, and now it just seems to be for the dominance of staying at home on television.
I love it. I love this idea. I have literally built a home theater for this experience, Mike, to watch these as they're meant to be.
You are prepared, but slightly off topic here. Chris, the worst thing has happened to me as a personality when it comes to buying electronics. I'm this close to upgrading to a new iPhone. I've had this old iPhone forever now. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to pull the trigger. I don't even care if a new one's dropping in 6 months. I just need a new one. I want to take better pictures. I'm going to be going on vacation here this summer. Let's go. And then what do I see? An article on Twitter. Oh, the iPhone in 2023 might finally switch to USB-C. And I'm like, no. Why do I have to be so obsessed with ports and just the ease of cables and dongles in my household? So now I'm just like fighting with myself internally to where like, I was worried about waiting till the fall for the new iPhone, but now my brain's like, no, wait another year and a half to get this iPhone that might have a USB-C cable in it. So I'm just fighting my dumb brain right now.
Let me help your dumb brain because I've been suffering with the same. I have an iPad Pro that uses USB-C. I have an iPhone that uses Lightning. And then I'm at work, which has no USB-C ports to plug into. It's just USB-A ports on my work machine. So I bought one of these cables. It's a nice braided cable, actually. It has 3 ports on the end of it. USB-A, or USB. It plugs in USB-A, has a USB-C, a Lightning, and a micro USB on it. If you have one of those older Android phones, even. And I've been able to plug my iPad and phone into it with the same cord. So I recommend just getting the cord. Get the new phone and just get this cord that has all the ports on it.
Yeah, maybe that's why I just need to.
It's like a little King Ghidorah cord, right? It's got like one head on it or 3 heads on it. And you're like, well, which one am I gonna use today?
I just need like a cord like wrapped in like Kevlar that I can just like wrap around my body, like some sort of like 90s like comic book like anti-hero, right? And I need all of the pouches so I can have all the dongles and adapters and everything, because the last thing that's ever going to get updated in anybody's household, right, is like the car, right? You know, people hold on to the cars for at the very least the length of the car alone, right? So it's just like, well, yeah, we have CarPlay, but it's all old USB ports, right? So now if I upgrade my entire life to USB-C cords, now all of a sudden I'm going to need like adapters for the car, and then Chris,
you might hear that's right here in my hand, right? That's actually 2 USB-A 3.0 to C adapters that I keep literally beside me at all times at my desk. So first world problems for sure, Mike, but I appreciate those first world problems because I understand where you're coming from. What I'm going to do here, while I have your attention, is go ahead and just crack that open. You hear that?
What do we got?
This is to celebrate next weekend's holiday. This is Smirnoff Seltzer Red, White, and Berry edition. So the red, white, and blue.
So like the Rocket Pop?
It's a bomb pop style drink, yes. But it's a seltzer version, not just the regular version. So next weekend is Memorial Day, folks. So again, we hope we may not talk to you until Monday. You might hear us till Tuesday or later if you're on vacation. I don't know. But enjoy your time. Celebrate safely and appropriately and have a good time, right? Like this is the time pools open Memorial Day, right? It's the start of summer officially.
And if you're not in America and you have literally no idea what we're talking about, there's just a day off on Monday.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, if you work in like the business or corporate world. So, and if you're trying to like go to the bank or mail an envelope, like just stuff isn't open on Monday. So
you can't upgrade your phone on Monday, Mike. Take that one day off.
Yeah, long weekend coming up. Got lots of streaming stuff to talk about as well.
Yeah.
But Chris, you have a little update down here to tell everybody to get ready for kind of like the first biggest con to maybe come back since the pandemic.
This is a big win here. Star Wars Celebration is happening this week, and I believe we have a listener, Jason, of the show, friend of the show, Jason. I know he used to go all the time. I don't know if he's going this year. But I'm gonna look. I believe it's in Chicago. It's been in Chicago the past several years. It might be. It's in Anaheim again. So it's back in Anaheim, Mike. So this is near you. I was at a wedding this weekend. Congratulations, Forrest and Becca. I know Forrest sometimes listens to the show. He used to work at AMC theaters and was my go-to, right, to get the movie posters and stuff at AMC. So thank you, Forrest, if you're listening. I know he's tuned in several times before. But our friend that we both have, Pan. You remember Pan from college? He was at the wedding, and he's going to Star Wars Celebration this weekend. So I was very excited to talk about that with him because he's like there might be this hour window where nothing's going on, where they might just stream Kenobi for free, like before everybody.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you gotta look for those.
Yeah, I feel like it makes a lot of sense, right? Because even if you're thinking Comic-Con, like so another big convention, if you ever have like especially a TV show, because they even did this with like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or other things, like it's a lot easier to premiere that stuff, especially when it comes out around time. So yeah, if you got Kenobi dropping, you got this coming up, get ready to watch some extra Kenobi at Star Wars Celebration.
Exactly.
One would assume.
Well, they've got Ewan McGregor, they've got Hayden Christensen. They brought everybody back for the show. They're probably going to have them at Celebration. They're going to probably give us updates on those dozen shows they've announced and probably canceled a few of since we last talked to them at Disney Plus. Really, what's the next Star Wars movie, Mike? That's what I want to get out of this, right? What is the next film?
I don't know. There was a whole Vanity Fair article that came out recently about Star Wars. I don't think we have really any of the bullet points pulled out of there because it was mainly an interview with Kathleen Kennedy. But, she kind of softly admitted that the Star Wars story movies maybe weren't the right direction. She even kind of said it's kind of hard to recast iconic characters even when they were younger. But I think we all know that the casting wasn't the issue with that movie and these projects.
Solo's not that bad of a movie. I think it's just lived in between two movies that got that have one of them is dragged through the mud very much to this day, and people have kind of forgotten The Last Jedi because Rise of Skywalker was even more controversial, right, at the end of the day. So I think there's a lot to be had here, but we do know Patty Jenkins is working on that Rogue Squadron movie, supposedly, still, right?
Ryan Johnson's movies is still they're still confirmed to be in the works, but they said he's working on Knives Out stuff right now, so
that's fine.
We don't even really know what the next what the next feature
Taika
is.
Waititi is working on one, right? We've confirmed that before. Kevin Feige's working on one with Michael Waldron, who wrote Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So there's a lot out there, a lot of hope. And we need it. What is that? What is it? A new hope, Mike. That's what we need. So really excited to see what comes out of this, and we'll report on it next weekend, of course. But very, very excited for Kenobi to start this week. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. Let's skip all the pleasantries, Mike. Let's jump into this. Number one this week, unexpected, huge surprise drop this week. The She-Hulk trailer. Let's just get this out of the way. Did not expect to see She-Hulk come out of nowhere. So we got a poster, and I think I shared with you the poster pretty early in the morning because it was like around 9 a.m. Eastern.
You sent the poster to me, and I think I wasn't on my my phone right away. I saw the poster, then I swear it was like 3 minutes later I saw people talking about the trailer on the internet, and I was like, okay, they really butted these up back to back, didn't they?
They 100% did, and I was just like, well, that's I should know when we get a poster. The trailer usually far behind. But again, I'm 3 hours ahead of you, so I'm like, well, do I wait and see if there's a trailer, or I just send Mike the news as soon as he can wake up and get it? So, but yeah, I'm pretty stoked for this. At the end of the day, so we got our poster. It's called She-Hulk Attorney at Law. So I'm going to fix our show notes here, right? So that kind of gives us an indication that this is her lawyering about. Now, we didn't see a lot of her lawyering officially. We did get more, I wouldn't say it looks like episode 1 footage, but a lot of stuff of like her turning green for the first time with Professor Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, and more of her, like, how is she dealing with being a kind of celebrity, it looks like, at the end of the day, because she's a green lawyer. Now, to me, you tell me what you think, Mike. It does not look like she'll be able to turn back and forth at will in this trailer. It looks like once she goes Hulk, she's going to stay the Hulk for this.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Like, this trailer is actually great. We're getting a whole lot out of this. We're getting the tone for the show. We're getting a great idea of kind of what Tatiana Maslany's character is going to be like. We get to see Ruffalo. We get lots of story hints. We answer a lot of questions right off the top, right? Like, is she going to be green? Is she going to be a lawyer? Is she going to have to keep any of this secret? Like, no, this is all great. She seems to be out there in the world with normal folks. I think there's like a group of women in like sundresses that's like commenting like on her looks and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's all great. I love the trailer. Great vibes. I had an amazing time. But then, of course, the internet gets to it, right? Like, I feel like I've seen positive and negative stuff. You can kind of cherry pick whatever you want out of it. The one that took off the most ground for me, at least on my timeline, is somebody reportedly got like insider information from somebody on a special effects team that said, oh, she used to be a lot more buff, but we kept getting notes from producers to make her look less buff. And I feel like you have to put grains of salt so many places, right? Because first of all, we don't even know if this is true, right?
Right. Yep.
Second of all, like, have you ever watched the credits for anything VFX heavy? There are so many VFX houses that work on these huge projects, so we don't even know what this person was necessarily, in charge of. Were they just like a PA? Were they actually working on it? It could be a
previs, even early stuff.
But then also the thing that's driving me crazy is, listen, I'm not a She-Hulk super fan, right? I don't have a whole lot of knowledge of her background and character, but it is so hard to not like do research. Like, just go on Google Images and type in She-Hulk comic panel. You'll see tons of different stylizations of the character. Sometimes she's huge and buff. Sometimes she's just tall and green. But also, as well, I would imagine, much like a character in any type of superhero setting, right? The angrier you get, the bigger and buffer you get. Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in the last episode, like, she gets very, very angry. Maybe she has to save somebody and gets like huge and buff and breaks something. So like, there's gonna be gradients of this character. So that's the only thing that makes me mad, is like, people have drawn the visual conclusion from the trailer and just assume that it was like definitive.
Yeah. So exactly. There's a couple things with She-Hulk, to kind of begin with. Number one, most of them you see, she's just more like an Olympic level, like muscular when you look at most of her comic panels, right? Like nothing like the Hulk who's like actually like monstrous proportions. She's a human who happens to be stronger and green and taller in most of these. Now, there is most recently a more recent Savage She-Hulk, where if she got even angrier, she would get even musclier and be even more dangerous. But like, that's not a common occurrence for the She-Hulk.
Now, I will not take away from your argument if you believe she should be equally as buff as Mark Ruffalo. Like, if that's your wish, that's fine. But you can't use the comic book kind of like as your backup defense, right? Yeah. If she is a lawyer going to court with evidence, you can't take the comic book to court with you as evidence, because I can find you a ton of panels and comic book covers that make her look almost identical. Yeah. And also, I will be fair, I'm sure executives and producers, they're guilty of this all the time. It happened with Sonic, right? I'm sure Sonic at one point looked like he did how he actually aired, and then he was toned down to look like this weird shrew, and then they brought him back to how he originally was. So it's like, I'm not saying this kind of like messery doesn't happen, but it's like, I watched the trailer and I had a good time. I didn't overthink it. I thought it was fun.
So the origin of She-Hulk is she's actually a fourth wall breaking character. She's a comedic character in the comic books, right? She's in these unrealistic situations. She was not a parallel she's not just the Hulk but a girl, right? Her whole situation's back. She's a normal human, gets a blood transfusion from her cousin Bruce Banner, and then she gets Hulk powers. She's not actually driven by anger as much as he was, right? He was created in anger to fight the army, to fight. He's supposed to be this like the most badass, fighter around. She was not made that way. That's not how her creation came about. So I think there's a lot to take away from that. But also at the same time, she was created before Deadpool as a fourth wall breaking character who was like, who's having fun in the comic books, poking fun at, she's a lawyer for superheroes. How weird is that at a time when like they were like, yeah, superheroes is doing whatever they want out in the world. So we get a lot of this in, kind of this trailer. It pokes fun at her celebrity a little bit. They poke fun at, she doesn't want to be a superhero because they're mostly billionaires, and something else,
orphans,
and adult orphans, right? Which was like a jab literally across both Marvel and DC, the whole crew right there. So you're like, okay, that's funny. She gets it. She understands what superheroes are. Now, I will say it was good to see Mark Ruffalo as Professor Hulk. We get to see that superhero landing, if you will, side by side was a really cool shot. And then, to me, my favorite is Tim Roth returning as the Abomination. We see him as Tim Roth. We see him transform into the Abomination. In the same cell, we see him go back into from Shang-Chi.
I did a little frame by frame too when they show him as the Abomination, and there's like a little bit of like kind of red kind of cloth coming down, and I don't remember in Shang-Chi if he had some sort of like decorative belt on.
No, the red cloth is, if you look at the Tim Roth character when he grows, he stretches out of his outfit. That's his prison outfit.
Gotcha.
So, this is actually a little fun fact. This will be the longest distance between appearances for Marvel characters in the MCU, because Tim Roth was in 2008's 2008's Incredible Hulk, right? And 2022's She-Hulk. So 14 years for him is the longest distance between Marvel appearances. So very, very cool little fact there. Now, since I know you're a fan of side-by-side, slowing down trailers, going through them, right? That's it. So we get to see a split screenshot of the character Titania busting through a courtroom wall at one point, who's supposed to be the main villain of this. There is a looks like a what we call similar to like a wrecking crew of the comic books, right? You remember the wrecking crew in the Marvel's Earth's Mightiest Heroes?
Yeah.
So we see these people with like crowbars, right, in like a dark, shady alley. Is this the MCU version of the wrecking crew? Because normally they're powered by Asgardian magic. So this looks like maybe they're just kind of maybe stronger, maybe Gamma powered. I don't know. And then the most weird, obscure character you could pull out of existence in Marvel is Frogman. A very,
you blink and you almost miss him too.
Yeah, exactly. So Frogman is kind of a really obscure character. I had to dig into him a little bit, but apparently if you look him up, he has like ties to Kraven the Hunter a little bit, even though he's not going to be in there. But he just has like a powered suit that lets him jump farther due to electricity. Like he has no like real powers.
Yeah, just a fun little C-D-list character to throw in there. I think my single favorite thing about the trailer was the mini danger room that Bruce had created for his cousin. It's just hilarious that the visuals even look like Danger Room 90s-esque, because she's in like this big chunky helmet. The wall is just circular saws, which is so funny because like there's got to be other scientific ways to like suss this out of her. He's like, nah, I'm just gonna put a bunch of blades in the walls. So funny. Yeah,
and then his excitement, then he's like, yeah, because she did it, and then she like rips the door off, and he's like, no, too far.
Yeah, great. I think the only thing that has me a little bit nervous, right, and we'll just have to see how the show executes it, it's over this whole idea of some dude wants to start this new legal arm for superhero law, if you will. I don't remember exactly what he says. Defending superheroes, convicting them. I don't know which direction he wants to go with it.
It's a superhuman law division. It was neither way. Yeah. He didn't specify either way.
Either way, he just wants to get a little bit of that cash, right? So, but with that comes clients. So in a comic book world, right, you can whip up a super-powered person super easy, right? It doesn't matter who they are. Just make them up, put them on the stand. We'll have a great time in this, like, this single comic book. But in the MCU has kind of been delicately created. All of the superpowered people have like really been explained elegantly. All of these heroes have their own supervillains. Like there's not a lot of superpowered just like fluff out there in the world. So like if we're just kind of getting like these randos off the street that are superpowered, like I'm worried about how exactly they're going to explain that. Like I don't want it just explained away, right? Oh, this person is just super strong. Well, okay, well hold on. Even in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a show that I didn't really like, they at least attempted to explain how somebody was super powered. It was from a serum that was connected to Captain America. So that's all I'm saying. Like if you're just going to get these randos off the street, like Frogman, I understand he can make a super powered suit. Okay, technology that at least exists out in the world, right? You know, I'm not too worried about that. But like they showed that super powered person ripping off Titania, ripping off the cuffs from her wrist. Like where did those superpowers come from? That's the only thing I'm worried about. Like eventually, yes, I want to see the MCU like flooded with heroes in some way because it's just interesting and it's fun, and we'll see what kind of havoc it wreaks. But it's just they got to find a way to explain it because we don't have mutants yet, we don't have Inhumans yet, we don't have an easy way to explain why there's like super people like running amok around the world yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're getting to that point where they're going to have to like start doing that, right? Like there's no easy way to get around. If we're going to have more heroes, we need to have more villains, and we've got to figure that out pretty early on. Because I like I said, I don't think there's a way, like, we have Miss Marvel. Obviously, she's going to have villains that are not just the Kree, right, coming up here. At the end of the day, we're going to have, possibly something we're going to talk about later. Possibly if some underwater people decide to pop up out of nowhere, there's going to be a lot. There needs to be a lot more problems that can be explained quickly without just being mutants either. That need to be solved. So I agree with you. With that, in this situation, for her, it looks like she might be representing maybe both sides of the stand. Is she going to be representing Tim Roth's Abomination or not? Kind of thing. Like, is she fighting to keep him caged up? So I don't know what they're doing here, and we've got some opportunities to have. And I think that the thing with this is I want it to have fun, and it needs to have fun. And the ending part of the trailer is like her going through like a dating app, right? To find men.
She picks a guy up. I'm like, oh man, the internet's gonna have a heyday with this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've seen more positive reaction than negative reaction overall, right? The negative obviously raises to the top, but I think everyone's gonna have a great time with this when it comes out.
And again, even like the thing about this is it's a strong, empowered woman doing what she wants, having superpowers, right? Like that is fantastic. We need those shows. We don't need just because someone online feels emasculated because there's a big strong Hulk lady in the MCU now doesn't make this a bad show at all. So I feel like those, like you said, those are the negative voices, and they just need to sit down and shut up for a little bit, or just not watch it. It's fine. And they also confirmed that this show is August 17th on Disney Plus, like we reported last week. So big win for us. Moving on, Mike, I specifically shared this with you because I thought it was really cool. I never actually saw this TV spot. I don't watch TV spots for these Disney Plus shows. But this new TV spot shows some of the Miss Marvel's powers in action. It's called the Destiny TV spot. And around the end of it, right, I think it's around like 40 seconds in this minute-long thing, it seems to be a bus is being thrown at a group of people. And I don't know who's throwing this bus or vehicle. But Kamala uses her powers to reach out and catch it. And we actually get to see her creating these large hands, right? Like literally an embiggen, but it's like an extension of her body with the crystallized powers, if you will.
Yeah. I think she says something along the lines of like, what, imagination come to life or something like that. So
yeah,
it seems like she thinks of what would be the best thing to solve this situation, and then bam, she's got big old hands.
And we've seen like her like do the smashing thing, and we've seen her kind of step on the air, with the crystal. So we didn't really see what anything was doing. But this is the first time I've seen it be an extension of her body, right? And if we could say I imagine when she embiggens herself, she'll encase herself in whatever this purple, yellow or purple blue crystal stuff is. But we'll learn more about it in a couple weeks. But I thought that this hand stuff was I guess I know they had to change her powers. I know not everyone's on board with it. That's fine. But I'd not seen this yet. And I feel much more relieved to see they're using her. She's not just creating shapes like a Green Lantern. she's actually using it to extend her body to do stuff like this.
I would recommend people actually seek out this TV spot. You can find it in our show notes at superheroslate.com. This should have been like the teaser trailer. I think this should have been the first footage that we saw of the show, because this got me a little bit more hype for it, and the other trailers maybe not so much. So I love that we got to see a little bit more action. There's more fun displays of the powers. Who knows, maybe the special effects just need a little bit more time and they didn't have these scenes baked and ready to go. But I would say this is the maybe the trailer to start off on.
Yeah.
So go check out that TV spot in our show notes.
100%. And I think it even starts with a really good message. Good is not a thing you are, it's a thing you do, right? The old 30 Rock adage, how are you doing? Doing well. You can't do good. Superman does good, kind of thing. So really, really fun trailer, TV spot. This is a minute long. It's in our show notes. Check it out. You heard it here. Other good news, moving along, Loki Season 2 begins filming next month, Mike. This is from the top down, and the entire cast is returning for the second season. So that's great news. We love Loki. It's a great show. Had a great cast. And does that mean we're going to see more of... not Kang, but He Who Remains in this, because he's part of the cast.
It seems so. We ended on that cliffhanger, and we obviously want more Loki because it felt like we didn't get a very satisfying ending, right? I thought the last two episodes were very exciting, right? But I feel like we just kind of like left off on almost like a Netflix shenanigan of like, oh, here's the first batch of episodes, wait for the second batch. And then you got the big cliffhanger also of like, how does this affect the rest of the MCU? So I got questions I need answered. That's what I'm trying to say.
He's come back, and the ending is definitely different. I think, to me, my biggest problem with Loki, even though it's a great show, is that they introduced all the important parts in the last two episodes when they should have introduced those earlier on, right? Like, the last episode was essentially a conversation with He Who Remains, and you're like, who even are you? Like, why are you here, kind of thing. So hopefully they will go back into this and do that. I think, we get Owen Wilson back as Mobius, which is a great
get his jet ski.
That's right. He's got to get his jet ski, so excited for that. And knock on wood, Mike, this is a tall order, a tall wish here, but what if we get more Loki variants, right? Not just alligator Loki or classic Loki, but like they can get crazy with some of the Loki variants. Sell your toys this way. That's how you do it. But very excited for that. In other disappointing news, I shared this with Mike yesterday. The trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder, a new trailer. I'd say the first official trailer. That other one's a teaser. I don't think it counts too much. It's just to say, reminder, hey, we're making a movie, because a lot of people didn't know they were making that movie. But the first trailer will be on tomorrow night during the NBA Finals, Game 4 of the NBA Finals.
Yes. It's bad news because we're recording a whole show about this stuff and we don't get to talk about the trailer. Great news for you, because there's a good chance you're listening to this on a Monday or even a Tuesday and you've already seen it, or you just wait a couple hours and go watch it. Yeah, you're like good to go. Like, we still have to wait.
Yeah, some of the sucky parts about doing the show is we know the trailers are going to show on Monday, and we got to wait a whole week to talk about them.
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely going to see some gore. Right, we're gonna get more.
Like Gore the God Butcher, not blood and gore. Just for anyone who doesn't understand.
Yes, Gore the God Butcher, Christian Bale. We're gonna maybe get an idea of kind of what the story is going to be, because that first teaser trailer, we just kind of got general vibes of Thor's kind of tired of being a hero. He's been puttering around the galaxy with the Guardians, and then I it's not directly said, but you do get the feeling that like, oh, he is kind of getting tired of this, and then he leaves the group, right? And I feel like that's going to happen very early on in the first act. Maybe Star-Lord might pop up again in the third act, Deus Ex Machina style, to help him out. But I feel like the Guardians are really going to be limited to like the first 20 minutes.
And even if that, because I think they drop him off with Korg, right? We see in the trailer, and they zip away. It looks like they're on what's that junk planet they were on?
Yeah, maybe.
It's Sakaar, yeah. So it looks like they're going to do that. But like, I think this is going to be, the one we see, the villain. We're going to see more. They're not holding back on Jane Foster, Natalie Portman Thorne. We have a new image showing Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson, returning as Valkyrie, and Thor as Jane Foster, helmet off, guns fucking blazing here from her.
Showing off the guns. They've been hitting the gym.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Can you imagine the first movie where she was the damsel in distress, right? Where she hit him with her car, and how far they've come in the past, 12 years for this, but it seems to be possibly based on that person in the very front of Natalie Portman. That is Bastet, the god, the Panther goddess from Black Panther. So is this a council of gods right here? Like, is this like where possibly what's his name? It's gonna be Russell Crowe. Zeus is, right, and they're all talking about, hey, there's someone out here killing the gods. We got to figure it out. Watch your back. Kind of thing.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because they're all like, I assume there's more gods here, but yeah, I don't know. I want to see this trailer. I want to know more. Again, I'm glad they're not hiding the Mighty Thor, Jane Foster. They're not. That's not the reveal, right? This isn't the Bucky reveal for the Winter Soldier. But I'm excited to see this trailer tomorrow night, Mike, and I will definitely be texting you about it. I'm not gonna wait a week to hold that. So we'll be talking about that along the way. Shifting gears into something you sent me, I did notice that this was like one of the more recent news articles here. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. We're shifting into Black Panther, and we get our rumored, very much rumored, confirmed by a third source, but we can't see a lot. Here is a blurry photo of possibly Namor in the film, Mike.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm spoiling things by saying this out loud to people, but
yeah, I mean it's interesting because it is a blurry photo, but it's not like a blurry photo like somebody zoomed in from a camera phone, like from the side of like a promotional like piece of artwork, right? But this does look like concept art that seems to be blurred.
It's like a fuzzy filter over it, kind of thing.
But like it is a filter, so I don't know if the person who got the photo blurred it, or maybe the circulation of this concept art was blurred. I don't understand what's going on here.
My guess is there's a watermark, and the only way to get the watermark off was to blur it, so they don't give away who had this photo.
Oh, maybe that could be possible. I didn't think about that either, but yeah, the blurred photo makes a little bit more sense when you get the rest of the rumor that they are slightly considering changing the origin of Namor. Instead of just being the sunken city of Atlantis, is they are just going to move the fictional city to, I believe it's South America, and it might be a sunken city associated more with Mexico, which is going to, I guess, change the heritage of Namor. If Namor ever really had a heritage, right? I guess his heritage is Atlantean, but, it's a fake city. So I guess this will be more of possibly like a Mexican heritage because it's a Mexican sunken city. So it sounds like the mythos is still going to be the same, just the location is going to be different, which I think is very interesting because it is kind of like a creative challenge, but in a fun way, where you get to take like this classic story of a sunken city, but you get to change all of the visual cues, right, to South American style. Yeah. Which, if you look at the blurred photo, you kind of see some of these extra stylings that you don't normally see on Namor. There's like some extra bangles and stuff.
Well, Namor's always been gold and green, totally fine, like his little speedo, right? But this looks more, Aztecian even. Like this looks like he is wearing some like. In Mortal Kombat 9, 10, and 11, right? They have a character who is essentially based on the Aztecian Tenoch land kind of imagery, and this looks like him a little bit in that blurred photo. Now the actor Tenoch Huerta, he's been rumored to be playing this character for like a year. Remember, I think we talked about this early last year. They're filming, and they had like water tanks next to like the set, right, of Black Panther. So, this is a way to have two kingdoms, Atlantis, Wakanda, fight. And I believe the latest rumor I'd heard is the only reason Atlantis even appears to begin with is because of the Eternal coming out of the ocean, or the Celestial in Eternals. Disrupts the ocean, right? Because literally that thing comes out of the earth.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's great. I mean, what a great way to make an underground city like fed up with everybody, right? Like, hey, we were fine down here. Nobody was bothering us. Yeah, there was a couple nuclear subs occasionally, but we looked past it because they left us alone. But hey, we can't look past like a giant freaking hand coming out of the ocean floor. Like it destroyed a kidney garden down here, right?
Yeah. It's way more compelling than Aquaman. Hey, people are littering. We need to take over the land.
Yeah. It's like I get the sentiment, right? But this is a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a little more isolated to this, and it feels more real. But I mean, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever has a huge burden to carry with the loss of Chadwick Boseman. There's a bunch of rumors of different people coming back and how they're going to handle this. Who's going to take over the mantle? Filming started and stopped several times due to issues. health issues and other people just kind of being assholes. So I don't know where this is going to land, Mike, and honestly, I'm very excited if this is true. This is a great way to introduce Namor to the situation.
Yeah, this is another plug for our show notes, because we got the blurred photo over in our show notes, and also you can kind of scroll through this Twitter thread that we linked to kind of see some concept art or people's interpretation
fan
of
art.
This actor.
Yeah.
The fan art is we're kind of on the B squad right now. I don't want to shame people's illustrations, because they definitely turn these around pretty quickly. But it does kind of give you an idea of what the character might be rendered like.
I will tell you, Spanish speaking Twitter, I guess Spanish, maybe Hispanic Twitter, whatever you want to call this, is a very interesting place for Marvel Cinematic Universe rumors. When they have different studio stuff in there, we may never hit it because the translation doesn't come through right. There's a lot down in these. You can go down a whole realm of finding things. People have been drawing this art for years, apparently, and we're like, oh, we just found it with that guy.
Yeah.
So.
Also, not to sound like a white dude trying to figure out an entire culture that I don't know about, but we do know CinemaCon is always in Brazil, South America. Yeah. Tons of news comes out of that all the time. The fandom down there is huge, and we really haven't had like a big presence in the MCU from that part of the world, right? Yep. We've had lots of Asian representation, great. We had Black Panther coming out of Africa, and I know Africa's huge. You can't, take a whole continent and make it representative of one person, though. There's lots of places around the world that we can have representation, but I feel like they really haven't tapped into that market, so it's great to kind of see them just being strategic there. Just
the first, third of the Incredible Hulk was in Brazil, and that's been about it. So a lot of opportunity. So we'll keep you guys posted on this if anything else comes out of this. Once leaks start, they don't stop. You can't plug a leak, so we'll talk about this more later. In news that I just want to clear up for everybody here, Marvel and Disney have signed a deal with Genius Brands International, who owns Stan Lee's likeness, and they're able to use his likeness through CGI and archive footage if they want to. Now, reading through all of this, they very specifically mean they want to use Stan Lee in the parks, similar to how they use Walt Disney in the parks, not put him in the movies. This isn't a way to get more Stan Lee cameos. If they were going to do that, they would have already done it, especially for Spider-Man. But they can use his likeness to be like, hey, this is Marvel. This is stuff he's recorded about Marvel when you go to the parks and learn the history of Marvel.
This is the perfect example of people online only reading the headlines and not reading the articles, which is why you subscribe to this podcast, because we will give you the real lowdown. Because I had lots of thoughts when this landed, and then you go through, you click through, you read the article, you get past the clickbait, and you realize what it's actually about. First of all, if you think about like Stan Lee in general, I feel like he seems like the guy that maybe would have been okay with this, right? You can't speak for the dead, but he did really like doing these cameos in these movies, and it seems like, I would sign on to, keep appearing. But also, if this was, and it wasn't, if this was going to be cameos for the movies, right, I feel like it's done. It's gone past, right? We've already had a handful of Marvel movies without him. Feels like we sent him off very gracefully, right? We don't need to be bringing him back. But I think for the parks, that's great. It's a great way to do it. You can have cool hologram technology going on where you're walking through a Captain America style, hall like they always do in the movies, and see Stan Lee there. So I think that's fun.
He's got years, decades of interviews, decades of convention panels, right? Like literally, he could talk. Like if you took all the recorded footage, you could make whatever you want out of this. And his compassion for the characters he created, the idea of comic books and heroes, and towards the end of his days, where he wasn't biased about them. Like he like you want to make a hero, great, that's awesome. Make superheroes. Like he's very much into it. So I agree with you. Like I feel he'd be very down for this and be like, yes, please let me inspire future generations beyond what I've already done, kind of thing. So
but we don't need cameos, and it doesn't sound like we're getting cameos in movies. So
and if they did, it would be, I think, similar to what they did on Netflix, right, where they have like his face on a newspaper, like, hey, where's the hidden Stan Lee in this movie, kind of thing. Not like, hey, we made a full CGI Tarkin and put him in the movie.
He's the deli counter guy checking out, Jennifer Walters as she gets her bagel.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, everyone kind of again, the internet went to pure panic and speculation mode. But like, even Kevin Feige knows, don't do that. Like, you don't need to make cameos out of this. We're being successful. His cameo doesn't make the movie. It is fun, but didn't ever make the movie the way it was. So very, very cool for this to see him in the parks when they get down to it. Obi-Wan Kenobi this week, Mike. This week, Friday, 2 episodes. Did you know that? You knew that.
I was not prepared for it to be dropping this week. It came out of nowhere, man.
Yes. So I would say I don't know any spoilers. I've not heard anything. I'm going to avoid the internet like the plague. Try to stay off of this. Again, the Disney Plus shows, you got to watch them usually day of. I'm pretty sure this is every Friday, right? Have we heard if it's going to stay on Fridays?
I mean, it would seem weird to drop it on a day and not keep it on that day. You
Yeah.
got to educate these consumers, especially since we're all used to Wednesdays being the days now and then going back to Fridays. What do you think the over-under is of how much Vader we get, right? Are we just going to see Vader in the last episode? Is he going to be peppered through, giving commands for people to track down Obi-Wan? I'm just curious. And then how much Hayden Christensen is involved, right? Is the mask going to peel up and we do get to see his disfigured face? Is he just going to be supplying like maybe motion capture and voice that's going to get distorted? I'm just curious how much Vader is in this.
Yeah. So I just looked up. It is Friday, every Friday for I guess 5 weeks because the first 2 are in the first. But yeah, I think we're going to be, to me, from that last trailer we got where we see the arm screwed literally onto Vader's like stump kind of thing, probably a lot more than we think we will on Vader. However, I think he's going to have a subdued role until possibly later in the back half of the series, right? Like, he's sending his Inquisitors out to do this. They're probably fairly incompetent, as all Inquisitors have been so far, up until they get killed. But we know a lot of these characters make it through to Star Wars Rebels, right? So when does he officially step in? When does Obi-Wan find out Darth Vader is Anakin? Right? We've never seen that. What does that look like? And that I guess that exploratory situation. I'm excited for a lot of this, but you're right. I mean, I'm not going to say he's in every episode, but they've really pushed him on a lot of the marketing, right? We've talked about. So, I want to see some big Star Wars battle. I want to see a big lightsaber. I want to see a lightsaber battle on par with Revenge of the Sith, right? Like, that's what we want. Like, to see these two people go back at it 20 years later. Last week was the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones, even. So, it's a huge lot of weight on this show. I don't think it's going to change Star Wars status quo, Mike, but I'm definitely excited to rewatch this and see this. So, for sure. Moving on in the Star Wars world, you reminded me of this. It hadn't really popped up anywhere else, but John Watts, who recently left the new Fantastic Four movie, even though nothing had really started on it, and brought us all 3 Spider-Man movies from Marvel, is going to be directing and producing a coming-of-age series, a Star Wars series for Disney+.
Yeah, can't keep John Watts away from those coming-of-age stories. Maybe that's why he walked away from Fantastic Four. He was like, John Krasinski, he's not coming of age. He's already a man. Yeah. I only direct little boys. And not to make it sound
you just
like
made it sound
that.
Weird. Thank you.
But it is funny because the last time we talked about this, we thought like, oh, this is a very competent director, right? Stepping away from a big franchise movie to maybe do some of his own projects, right? Get something started up from off the ground, which he still probably could.
I think he is. I think this is on top of whatever he's doing.
Yeah, he's a busy guy, but to see him just jump to another franchise, I think it's just funny the draw that Star Wars still has for filmmakers, right? The fact that you get to put your stamp on this historic legacy that's been around since you're a child. It would be so hard, right? Just one day, what does he get a call from like Kathleen Kennedy while he's on the set of a Spider-Man movie? Like, oh, hey, I want to have a meeting. Then they get together like, you want to make a Star Wars movie? Like, how do you say no to that? Like, you just can't say no to making Star Wars. So I think this could be exciting. When I think coming of age, I just think of there was like a couple of those animated Star Wars shorts that kind of dealt with younger kind of kids, making their way through the galaxy. And we both together didn't like those shorts really all that much, but I would imagine John Watts tackling it would be fun. Like, what is it like, being a, quote unquote teenager in the Star Wars galaxy? It can't all just be riding Vespas around, space Vespas on a desert planet. Yeah. So I think this is great. We all want to see more from John Watts.
Yeah, I think he's great. I think he has I honestly think he has a choice. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy came to him. I don't know. I have nothing against her. I just don't know if she has the foresight to do anything, right? Like, they have a bunch of stuff they're talking about, but what are they doing? So maybe he's like, maybe I have an idea for a Star Wars series instead, and like wanted to do that, because again, it's a Disney Plus series, not a movie. So this is a different little realm for him. He's known for doing his movies. He is also he's co-producing, but wrote the film treatment for the next Final Destination series movie that's coming out. He's got a lot going in the fires, but I'd be excited to see this. It's also confirmed to be Return after Return of the Jedi, right, in the Mandalorian era that we're currently at as well. So if it is, maybe it is the bikers, maybe it is the Vespa Saiyan people, Mike, and he's gonna go right back to Tatooine and make it cool.
No,
he's gonna make it so cool.
No more deserts.
Yeah.
If they let me into that building, I'm just gonna find the nearest printer and laminator, say no more deserts. I'm gonna slap it everywhere in those offices. Like, we're in a galaxy far away. If I want to see sand dunes, right, I'll just drive out to the Mojave.
You're starting to turn into a little Vader sounding yourself. I hate sand. It gets everywhere. But yeah, I think we know very little about this. I think they might talk about it a little bit this week at Celebration, but if not, we'll keep everybody updated as they kind of move through this a little bit for us. The Boys season 3, I thought was in July. It is coming up. It is in June, Mike, June 3rd, which is around the corner, I believe. And a new season 3 trailer dropped, which was actually, I think, the better of the two trailers at the end of the day.
This trailer was great. It made me kind of forget, before I watched it, I forgot how much I loved watching The Boys, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get into all of just like the profanity, the gore, the explosions,
the gore.
The
so much gore in this trailer.
And they put it in the trailer because you're looking for it. Like, they've done a good job of making just all of this nonsense very compelling, right? Like, everybody loves to hate Homelander, right? He's still around. He's very complex. He has a rough origin, but we love to hate him. We want to see him beat up, thrown around. And then, now Billy's getting some powers. It's just, everything's exciting. It's like, these are all of the things that you wish that you could see in kind of these more mainline superhero stories, but, they just can't go there. They can't destroy an entire franchise to have, like, to show, like, a breast or something like that, or like a 40-foot wiener. So you get all that in The Boys.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much I'd say like a shock series, right? Like, there's a lot of shock things in this. This season's very interesting because they're introducing Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy, who is the Boys analog of Captain America, right? He was in World War II. It looks like he was frozen and is brought back to modern times. He has the ability. It looks like he kind of like shoots like maybe a heat blast out of his body kind of thing. So very interesting to see what his powers are. What I would say, with this one is, I think they're going to lean into that it's been a long time since we last saw The Boys, right? It sounds like there's like a year past maybe or something.
I was just about to bring that up. The gap between season 1 and 2, not a whole lot had happened. They were kind of in hiding, laying low, and there was a little bit of a relationship that developed between I don't remember that main character's name, the Jack Quaid character.
Yeah.
He started dating one of the seven.
What was his name? She says his name in the trailer.
Yeah, they're just not that much of a time gap. But yeah, it looks like there has been a lot that has developed. A Jack Quaid character is now working for some sort of governing body, right? He's in like a suit and tie, laying down the law. So this will be fun. I'm really looking forward to this. And The Boys also is one of the few things I feel like Amazon Prime really has to market. I never hear anybody talk about Amazon Prime shows, but I do hear people talk about The Boys. Like, it has broken through, right? It makes people remember that their Amazon Prime membership is not just for 2-day shipping. Oh yeah, and I also get to watch The Boys.
The Boys, exactly, 100%. And you remember Comic-Con 2019? They had The Boys experience before the show even launched, so we didn't go because we didn't know what the hell it was or what it would be. But this, I mean, it's really nailed it out of the park the past 3 years. So it also looks to be, pushing a very parallel political kind of thing here, like. I saw something that's like, it looks like maybe Homelander's starting to cut loose a little bit and be like his murderous self for the protection of the country kind of thing.
Yeah,
so.
And last season they leaned into kind of like the power of like memes and everything of like rehabbing characters, but now it looks like there's like this like vocal minority that's really leaning into how crazy maybe Homelander is.
Yeah, and they love it kind of thing. So, and then lastly, on this, Mike, I just want to bring up there's the Dawn of the Seven movie they were filming right in the last season. So they've actually released a Dawn of the Seven released the Burke cut, parroting literally Zack Snyder's Snyder cut, and then Zack Snyder commented, "Congratulations to director Burke, excited to see your vision realized." So like everybody's in on this fucking joke at this point. Like it is just parody on parody on parody. So
oh yeah, this is great. And also, just to be clear, this is hard to do, to make this show. Like, ever since The Boys has dropped, and even maybe before then, there has been so many streamers, so many other outlets that have tried and failed to get other superhero properties off the ground. Whether it's an original idea, whether it's an adaptation of like an indie comic or something like that. Even the biggest streamers have not been able to make it work, and this is the one that seems to have staying power and really stick around, right? If The Boys didn't exist, right, and then we said, oh, there's a new show coming out, they're adapting like a comic book, that only like the indie crowd has heard of, right? You wouldn't think like, oh, that's going to do very well.
Jupiter's Legacy is a prime example of that. Netflix trying to do it and failing horribly. What's really fun is, even though we have VOD International, The Boys has become like their parody of everything else going on in the superhero world is just hilarious. Like they've literally skewered the Marvel, the DC stuff all over the place. So
yeah, because they're
leaning into it.
And they get, like you just said, they get to skewer both things. Not only do they get to skewer just the concept of superpowered people, but they get to skewer the Hollywood entertainment kind of system, right? If these characters actually exist and make movies. So yeah, it's just great. Creative team over there is amazing. I never watched the animated Diabolical, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, the animated
I never watched the animated shorts just because they're not really canonical, but they do have that spin-off that
some of them are. Some of those episodes are canonical to this.
But is it canonical like the first half of Boba Fett is canonical, right? Or is it more canonical like the last 2 episodes of Boba Fett?
I don't know what you mean by that, but it's like some of those animated shorts, like because they're all individual standalone episodes, right? They're like I think 2 or maybe 3 of them are set in the Boys universe.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that they're probably not required viewing.
Yeah, no, 100% not required viewing. But I think it's interesting in that they did make some of them because I think they're just so obscure, like they're not actually part of it. Like I said, they're not part of there. So very, very excited to catch up on The Boys. June 3rd. The other Stain comic book property that came out the same time The Boys did is the Umbrella Academy. And the Umbrella Academy Season 3 is dropping again the same time The Boys is. It's within the same month because they've both been produced on the same schedules, right? And the Season 3 trailer is it's a fun, fantastic trailer, Mike. I think they used the song Ballroom Blitz to great effect to show the Sparrows versus the Umbrella Academy. They've got, again, I love character 5 and the other brother with the hair. Klaus.
Okay.
The one hippie one, right? Who was the cult leader last time. They're just having a good time in this. And I want to know more about the Sparrow Academy because there's not been enough books to really kind of go over this.
Yeah, I love how they're just like, we've been replaced by like a cube and these other things, and we get to see a little teaser of the monkey guy. I already forgot his name.
Pogo.
This is what happens when these shows are so far apart time wise, right? Yeah. But the Umbrella Academy is great. I love the song Ballroom Blitz, even though this is not my preferred version of the song.
Yep.
I still enjoyed it and had a good time. But yeah, like you were saying at the top of the show, June, The Boys and the Umbrella Academy, they're going to be owning that that month for sure. And then I'm sure Netflix is very, very happy they'd be having their like two biggest shows kind of like going back to back, right? Because the number one thing Netflix needs right now is returning customers and new subscribers, and their two like hugest franchises are returning this summer, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, 100%. I'm down with this. I think I'm probably more excited for this than The Boys, but I think it's just my hand is with the Umbrella Academy. Just the zaniness of it is a little more. The other ones, I need a break after watching The Boys. It's very brutal, like it's very unforgiving. And the Umbrella Academy is a less kind of brutal thing. But it's interesting. We actually get to see in this trailer a little bit the not the full transition, but how Elliot Page will be transitioning from the character Vanya to whatever the new character's name is. I forget his name in this, right? Because she has the long hair when she's Vanya early on, talking to their leader, and then this. But also, it's very fun because in this universe of right, there was like 50 something kids born on the same day with powers, and technically all these people are brother and sister. Like they're all the same. All born on that same day. So I want to see if they start talking about how they're connected a little bit more. So
another good story point that they added in the trailer too is they said that they've created like a time paradox nexus thing, and the world's going to fall in on itself. So I kind of thought that maybe they were going to be stuck in this world, and because they had finally, like, ever since like the very first episode of the Umbrella Academy, they've been trying to like stop the world from ending, and every season the world is ending, which is kind of fun. So now it's just like, oh man, the world is still ending. They can't even sit and rest for a second.
It's been like 2 weeks for these characters, right? Like for some, like they've only been going for like 2 weeks to, like 1 week to stop Vanya, 1 week to stop it was Dallas and the JFK assassination, and then another week here it sounds like. But I want to meet the Sparrows, see what their powers are about, and see how they do it. But it was very fun where he was like, hey, and the Five was like, if you see your other self, the other one's like, kill him, sleep with them. He's like, avoid them, kind of thing. He's like, why would you say these things? So the dynamic of the characters is fantastic. So check out that trailer below. That drops June 22nd. So the end of the month on Netflix, which is right in between. I'm gonna shift some stuff here, Mike. Stranger Things actually dropping. So Stranger Things is dropping literally this Friday, the first half of the season, and the other half is dropping on July 1st. So it sounds like they're kind of queuing people up to watch a little bit of this now. I did see
talk about coming out of left field for Stranger Things. Also, I forgot it was dropping this week. So, man, you got Obi-Wan coming out, Stranger Things, and then of course all the other things we talked about. So it's summer. Apparently streamers, they got the analytics. They know that we're not going outside. We don't care how nice the weather is.
It's the summer of streaming, Mike, 100% through and through. And what's interesting about Stranger Things is I don't have it, but like the first 5 episodes are like very like standard, like 45 minutes or whatever, like standard paced for Stranger Things. And the last 4 get longer as they go. They're like an hour and 15, an hour and 10. But the final episode is actually 2 hours and 30 minutes long for season 4. Which is, that's a movie in and of itself, right? Like they're just so I get why they've taken so long to make this. So I'm very excited about this. Now I will tell you, Stranger Things products are for sale out in the wild. On Reddit this weekend, or maybe it was on Friday, someone was able to buy the Stranger Things Monopoly set. Now, it's not just Monopoly with Stranger Things characters. It's actually got rules and stuff based on things that happen in this season.
Shit.
So there are huge leaks for this show season due to this a Monopoly set. Who knows what else is out there? So
yeah, this is the bonus of Stranger Things, kind of just being adjacent to the things we talk about on this show, right? Yeah. Usually we're talking about DC, Marvel, comic book stuff. Stranger Things is like nerd adjacent, so it doesn't usually pop up in my social media feeds, right? So even if there was like a huge spoiler out there, like from a Monopoly game, I'm not really in that universe, so that's kind of nice that I still have it at arm's length. I'm not too worried about anything getting spoiled. I will be watching it this coming weekend, but like I'm not going to be up at like midnight or whatever when the show drops and binge it all so I can talk about it the next morning,
Yeah, and that's my concern with these. Like, I'm gonna probably like try to eat these, like absorb these in doses, right? Because it's just I like scheduled viewing. It's easier to watch and digest and not miss things and not miss have to worry about spoilers. You only have to literally miss a day rather than a whole weekend. So I'm I'm excited for this, but like it's not like my number one priority for the summer, right? Like you said, it's kind of adjacent for this. So I'm glad this is coming along. Apparently, the Duffer Brothers were like furious about these leaks because they don't do the products, right? Like Netflix does the licensing. So apparently, the top down word is like they are going to. Netflix and the Duffer Brothers are going to work more in concert for season 5, the final season. So things do not release before they're supposed to release.
Yeah, that's going to be a good idea.
Well, I understand they can't really control production and things slipping through sales as frequently, but like maybe put a delay on it, right? Like you don't need the products the day of sometimes, but what do I know? What do we know, Mike? We're just on the other side of this. Let's talk about the Predator franchise.
Okay, hard right hand turn, right? Make a Yui.
Yeah, this last one's going to cover some older franchises, if you will. So the first one's going to be the Predator franchise and this prequel movie called Prey, which got a trailer. It's going straight to Hulu on August 5th, and this is a very, very I guess restrained teaser, right, for this movie. It deals with the Native Americans, hundreds of years before the first Predator movie, and it seems to be the Predator is hunting some of these Native Americans on Earth in very old, back then with like wooden bows and arrows.
This is the perfect example of a trailer that you wish you would have saw without context, right? Because it starts off just like somebody running through the woods, they're terrified for their life, and then you look like you're watching something that's a period piece, which it looks like this is indeed going to be a period piece, and then all of a sudden you get the iconic three-pointed laser pointer on somebody's head. Then that's when you as the audience would go, oh, it's Predator, they're back. But even though Predator's kind of been a little tarnished as the franchise, so maybe people wouldn't be so excited. But I was shocked. I'm sure this was already out there in the world, but I didn't know that this was going to be on Hulu. I don't have to go to the movie theaters to see this. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's being directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who did 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is a great movie, but also I feel like I've grown up with him on the internet a little bit because he did like kind of YouTube fun film reviewed nerdy stuff. So he used to be a guy just like us. Then all of a sudden now he's like this big Hollywood hotshot. So I love to see now he's doing another movie because after 10 Cloverfield Lane, I know he had some projects kind of like failure to launch due to like kind of like studio snafus, not necessarily his end. But he has been directing television. He did the very first episode of The Boys, and I wouldn't be surprised if he went back for more. But he's been directing television and, like, I think even big video game cinematics. So it's kind of cool to see him return to another movie, right? Because if you're looking at Dan Trachtenberg as a filmmaker, really all you have to go off of is 10 Cloverfield Lane, right? Which is attached to kind of like also a tarnished franchise because the Cloverfield Paradox is friggin' weird and bad, but it was like hyped up with the Super Bowl.
2 out of 3 is not bad because we do know that Cloverfield Paradox was originally not written to be Cloverfield.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
And they added it later. So like I still think I'm not going to fault him for the Cloverfield franchise. He's got this. He's done.
No,
Black.
I wasn't faulting him either. But maybe this is his job, right? Maybe this is what happened. He comes in and he reinvigorates a franchise with like kind of a more down to earth take on it, right? Cloverfield Project, right? This big fantastical destruction movie from the grounds of like a little DVI camera that somebody's running around with. Then he comes in and he reimagines it. Maybe he can do the same with Predator. Yeah.
Well, I think also, 10 Cloverfield Lane doesn't do that, right? It has the twist that, you have John Goodman, and I forget the actress's name. It's Ewan McGregor's wife.
I didn't know he was dating her. Yeah, Ramona from Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah, they're married actually. But like the whole thing is they're in an underground bunker. He's saying there's aliens outside, and then it becomes like a horror, like you're trapped in the claustrophobic. Like the twist, the turn, the terror in this movie, right? It felt so real, felt so good. So him doing this Predator prequel called Prey, which if you didn't know that, you would never know. A movie called Prey is related to Predator, but like. That he's been tapped into. I feel like we're in for a lot of those, like, tight, scary moments.
I wonder if they're going to take, was it I know it's Mel Gibson, right? But that movie Apocalypto he made, none of that was subtitled, right? I don't think there was a spoken word in it. at all. As far as I remember, it seems like maybe this movie could take the same approach, right? That could be kind of fun. Which would be crazy to look at the script. I would imagine the script's a whole lot like a Mad Max Fury Road, right? Just a lot of action and descriptions, not a whole lot of dialogue.
Apocalypto had language with subtitles, yeah.
Oh, it did?
Yeah,
I thought it was just I don't know,
the
looks and gazes.
It had the Mayan language with subtitles. But I know what you're saying. Like, there's an opportunity here where they don't have to talk. They can use this to create it more. And then the actress we see this Amber Midthunder. She was in the Legion series as one of the side characters as well. So she's great. I'm excited to see this. Very very. I didn't watch Predators, but like I think Predators back on an upswing from what I heard from the people who did like Predators, right? The fourth Predator film. So, I'm excited to see this when we get to it in August 5th. So on Hulu. So if you got Hulu, you'll be able to check it out. Godzilla and the Titans is the name of the upcoming Apple Plus Godzilla show, which is tied to the MonsterVerse. So running in parallel with Godzilla vs. Kong, and then the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong 2, which is supposed to focus on possibly King Kong's son. So Matt Shakman, who I believe that he directed all of the WandaVision episodes, it will direct the first 2 episodes of the series for Apple. So
what a crazy movie franchise. It's the type of thing that you put on while you're like scrolling through your cell phone, right? Where you can just kind of ignore all the human stuff that makes no sense, and you're just waiting for big old monsters to fight. So, Apple's got the money, right, to make big episodes with big fun action, but
it's so weird that they have this franchise living in multiple places. It's what Legendary owns it, right? Is that I believe owns the MonsterVerse. It's on HBO Max for. It's on HBO for Godzilla vs. Kong. It's going to Apple for this. HBO's doing Godzilla vs. Kong 2. Like, what is happening here?
It feels like, to me, almost like Apple was like grifted. Like, I know they seem to know what they're doing, right? Because they made one of my favorite shows, Severance. So some producers over there knows what's going on. But I got the vibe from the last Godzilla movie or King Kong movie or whatever you want to call it, that the franchise was kind of on its last leg, right? Like, we only made one Kong movie and we just made 2 Godzilla movies, so now let's mash them together because the audience interest is waning and we just need to get this out the door ready to go. But maybe that trick was enough, right? Maybe they saw a big boost in Godzilla, numbers.
Godzilla, the second one we watched, right? King of the Monsters. Apparently, right? I'm just trying to remember the titles as I talk out loud.
God, I don't remember the titles of any of these.
It was the Ghidorah one. Apparently it did low, but Godzilla vs. Kong did so much that like faith in this whole franchise has been restored. Like the MonsterVerse and the Monarch stuff is like, oh my gosh, we got people back to the theaters during the pandemic. The streaming numbers were through the roof. Let's go into this. So
I'm just surprised that there's enough like juice left behind to get a whole series going, because none of the humans are memorable. I know that they were humans in the movies, and one of them was even 11 from Stranger Things, right? But none of them are of any consequence. You can replace any of them with just any old monarch, scientist, that person that you want to cast in the film. So really the only thing that's sticking around is the legacy of the movies, and I guess just the visual identity of Godzilla and King Kong that they've built up in the movies. So it almost doesn't even really need to be attached to the movies, right? Well, but they have been.
What's great about this, the title Godzilla and the Titans, means that they could possibly do a Titan of the Week style series, right? Like, hey, there's all these other creatures on Earth. We know there are. I don't want to see them go to Hollow Earth to get any of these, but like maybe some are like coming to the surface because that's now opened again. I don't know. So like I would love like a Titan of the Week style stuff. Like it doesn't need to be huge and like overarching. Like we don't need cities in the world's going to end if these two guys don't duke it out, kind of thing. Like, or Godzilla coming in and fighting someone every week, kind of like the old Godzilla animated show was. Give me a monster of the week, that's fine. I also know that one of the writers or producers is Matt Fraction of comic book fame, who he wrote some good Iron Man stuff. He's written good Thor stuff. Hawkeye was his the thing, My Life is a Weapon, which they based most of the show on. Like, he is a fantastic writer, and I have full faith in him if he's handling this project. So, as well, or has his hands on this project as well. So, I'm excited. Either way. Lastly, do you remember that gem of a film? I think this is a hidden gem, if you will. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That is Sean Connery's last film, right?
Yes, it is.
Is that what it's maybe most well known for?
Oh god, people hate this fucking movie. It is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Even
the funny thing is I remember watching it like when it came out when I was younger, and like I didn't have any strong opinions about it, right? Mm-hmm. Because I never really rewatched it, so I just have vague memories of what it was, and I was like, oh, I think I remember some like extraordinary action set pieces. Don't remember the ending of the film. Or it was trying to set up a franchise. It was before like I really dedicated a part of my life to keeping up with franchises, right? So I really don't have disdain for it, but I know nothing ever came of it.
Oh yeah, this movie, I remember watching the movie like, oh, this is visually interesting, but oh my gosh, on a rewatch, Mike, you like, how stupid was I as a child?
It sounds like I gotta go watch it.
Yeah, was there lead in the water? Apparently, they are is being rebooted as a movie at Hulu. But just to note here, and you may not know this. I don't think you're in the audience for this. The original movie is nothing like the comic books. They took a lot of liberties like to make it a movie. They're like, we got your LXG from Alan Moore here. Let's add stuff in that we think we want to do. It's been like overproduced, right, kind of thing. And a lot of it is not even based on like the award-winning series, which has won a lot of awards when it was written. So
it looks like it's streaming over on HBO Max.
There you go.
So I think I'm gonna have to give it a rewatch. I mean, why the heck not?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's an opportunity to check it out. So I know you like I don't know where you are in your Twilight
rewatch.
Yeah, so this came out in that mid 2000s era, I guess early 2000s era, where things were pretty rough. But yeah. Anyway, that's coming. I guess if it's gonna be like that first one's kind of dark. It's kind of like depressing, like the characters they use when it's written. So I'd be interested in more of that rather than this like lighthearted, fun, adventuristic tone. So hopefully they can do something good with that. But I know that's in the works. All right, Mike, let's wrap it up. Let's get out of here. It's we're last full week before the holiday week. We're counting down for that Thor trailer. But if people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at?
Oh, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN, or Instagram, Valdan87. Or you can come back and listen to the show every week, where we'll be. If people know more about the show and listen maybe to our Doctor Strange review, if they've finally got around to watch it, or looking forward to maybe some of our upcoming reviews, where can they find all that good information at?
Oh, all you got to do is head on over to where all of our extraordinary men sit down and league it up, and that's superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. We talked about a lot of stuff in our show notes today that requires a little bit of a visual fortitude. So head on over to superheroslate.com and you can see, that new like leaked blurry picture of Namor. You can get all the trailers that we talked about this week. Go check it out. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you'd love to listen to fine podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out and let us know what you thought about the She-Hulk trailer. Are you an angry Frogman, or are you just like a chill nerd Ruffalo? And you just liked what's going on here. We love hearing from you. We love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.